The world has changed tremendously in a couple of weeks, but these are the things, the measures that are necessary for us to live, right? Indeed. All right, speaking of living, or life rather, certainly one of the key things where our financial future is concerned is life cover. And in case you've never heard the phrase life cover, life insurance, or maybe you've heard it making the rounds, but you don't know what it actually means, then I'm very happy to have Sis Phumelela on the line with us to chat to us about why this is necessary. And if you haven't yet given it any thought, or maybe you thought it didn't apply to you for whatever reason, we're about to clear all of those myths roundabout now. How are you doing, Sis Phumelela?
Hi, Bonolo. I would also like to greet your listeners.
Thank you so much for giving us your time. Obviously now with, coronavirus, COVID-19 being around, things like financial future, particularly where our loved ones are concerned, has come into play. So we must now ask ourselves these type of questions. Perhaps a good place, right, to start would be, before we even get into what it is and all of that, would be to ask the question, why is it so important? Why is it important for us to have life cover, particularly now that we have COVID-19?
Bonolo, life cover is important for most of us. And I will say that if you are a parent, and you still have children that need to go to school, need to go to university, or if you own a home, a car, and other debts that you're still paying towards, you must have life cover. Because what happens is if you pass on and you do not have life cover, then there is a big risk that, your home might be repossessed, your car might be repossessed, and your children might not have sufficient money to be able to pay for school if they are still at school, or for university if they still need to go to university.
Sure. So
these are the main reasons why we need life cover. But there are also other reasons that are not very known to many people. For instance, when we pass on, unfortunately, we still have to pay taxes. So when you pass on, there are fees and taxes, what I want to just call estate costs.
Wait a minute. So there are taxes that I need to pay while I'm no longer here.
Yeah, but yes. Taxes.
That's absolutely bizarre.
You know what they say about, there are two certainties in life. It is
death and taxes. Yeah.
So what are these costs and fees and taxes that, you need to provide for when you pass on? The first fee is the executor's fee.
Okay.
These are the people who wrap up your estate and make sure that your home, your cars, and other stuff you own is transferred to whoever you have left them to.
Okay.
Then, depending on the value of your estate, there's another tax which is called, estate duty. You can think of that as a wealth tax, because fortunately that is only paid by people with big estates above 3.5 million estate value.
Interesting. Okay.
When you die, capital gains tax is triggered. So, there's another tax that you have to pay. And your pro rata income tax does not come to an end. So, these are all the things that need to be provided as part of your life cover. But let's not get too technical, because why are we even talking about life cover today? We have COVID-19. It's affected the whole world. We are lucky that we are at the tail end, so we have seen what is done all over the world, US, Italy, China, and all of that. So the risk of dying at this point is there for all of us. Yes, some of us are more susceptible to coronavirus than others, but the reality is all of us are going to be affected in one way or the other. So at times like this, we need to be thinking and having difficult conversations with our loved ones. So you've got to start thinking about, can your family afford to lose you?
Sure.
You know.
Wow.
If you were to pass on right now, what is going to happen to your children? Will they still be able to continue with school? If they are at university or they are due to go to university next year, will they be able to continue with their plans? Will your home be repossessed? So if you have life cover, you have perhaps less to worry about. I'm still amazed, Bonolo, to see people not paying for their monthly premiums. This is not the time. You cannot afford not to pay your monthly premiums towards your life cover because the risk has become so real for all of us. So I want to urge, because I know, some people, many people out there do have life cover, but we have to be extra careful, particularly now that we do not skip any, debit orders. I know times are tough. Some people are sitting with reduced salaries and all of that. And there's something funny about insurance. They say the best time to take it is when you do not need it.
Yes.
I just hope that it is not too late for some of us if we don't have it at this moment. Because I can tell you now, as a financial advisor, it is becoming very onerous and frustrating for all of us when people are applying for life cover at this point. I am not saying that if you don't have it, don't go ahead and try to get life cover. But I'm just preparing you that you are going to have to go through tests and questions. And you can't really blame insurance companies, because imagine if you take life cover of 10 million today and 3 weeks down the line you've died from COVID-19. So they've got to be extra careful at this point in time. So be prepared if you don't have one, that you are going to be going through a lot of questions. And, I saw one of your questions is, do you have to take blood tests?
Yes, medical examination. Yeah.
Yes, you do not have to. There is life cover that issues without you having taken blood tests.
Okay.
But, the reality is with COVID-19 here, I think they're going to be more stringent. But you will always be asked questions about your health. They want to know if, for instance, the sad part of COVID-19, I was listening to the news yesterday. For those people who have pre-existing illnesses such as diabetes and high blood pressure, they are at an even higher risk. So before you give in life cover, they will ask you questions about your health. And if you have a pre-existing illness, then they might insist that you get tested.
Yeah.
So if you have it, please don't skip your premiums, because the last thing you want is something happens to you and there is no payout because you just didn't pay in the last few months. So please try the best you can. Now, my advice is, if it's really difficult, maybe you have suffered, like I know some people, they're still working, but they've had to take salary cuts. There are a number of things that I would suggest you do if it's difficult for you. Review your existing life cover. So go back to your benefits and, speak to your financial advisor and see if you can't reduce some of your benefits, so that you still have it, but maybe not everything that you had. Because remember, life cover comes with other benefits such as disability, critical illness. So you might be able to, reduce or do away with some of the things and just keep your death amount there, given the risk that we are all facing right now. And Bonolo, the same goes for funeral policies.
Right.
I'm not a big fan of funeral policies because they're expensive. There's a discussion for another day. But if you have funeral policies, please do your very level best to make sure that you pay and you don't skip your premiums. So, I think, if you can try and shop around and review your policies, try and do so, because, it will be even more difficult for your loved ones if you pass on. And the most painful thing that I've seen sometimes is people say, but I know mom had life cover. And when we check, indeed, they had life cover, but unfortunately, they cancelled it a few months before they passed on.
Sure.
And they are no longer there, and the kids are left destitute. So you don't want to be in that position. You don't want your loved ones to be in that position.
Sure. We're in conversation with financial advisor Phumelelo Ndumo, talking life cover, life insurance this afternoon. If you do have a question or comment, by all means, do feel free to get in touch. That SMS line is 37871 at the cost of R1.50 per SMS, 37871. You can WhatsApp or Telegram us on 082 657 2729. Alternatively, give us a ring on 012 334 1322. I've always wondered about this. How much life insurance is enough?
What I do for my customers, I do what I will call, an adequacy calculation.
Okay.
So, there is no one size fits all. All of us are different. Our families are different. The number of people that depend to us and all of that. So there's quite a few things that you have to take into account to come to how much life cover is enough. But, I always say that, what you need might be very expensive, and you just have to try and make sure. For me, I'm a firm believer that a little bit of something is better than all of nothing.
Okay.
These are difficult financial times. So, yes, ideally, you want to ensure that your debts are paid for. You still leave money behind for your children to finish school and go to varsity, provide for universities and all of that. So that is what the amount is. But all of us have got different, home loan accounts. And some of us are still paying for cars. Some of us, the kids still need us. They are young. If something happens to us, they have a long way to go before they even finish high school.
Right.
Let alone university. So each person is different. There is something that really one needs to sit down with a financial advisor to work out what is ideal. And then one always needs to take into account what is the budget capacity. Because, again, you can't afford to not be able to do anything else now because you're paying for life cover. So you need to still make sure that it is within your budget, because the last thing also that you want is to take this life cover in a couple of months. You can't afford to pay for it, and then you lapse it, which means you stop paying for it. You don't want to do that, because when you lapse it, you don't get any of your premiums back that you have paid.
Sure.
It's like you snooze the load type principle. So that is why, for me, I always say, rather have some life cover, even if it might not cover everything that you need, and also than taking too much and then you lapse it and then you have nothing.
I hear you.
That is why there needs to be a proper consultation to arrive at what is ideal for you.
I hear you. Let's deal with beneficiaries now. Just so that I'm not presumptuous, perhaps we should just explain what a beneficiary is. But as well, who should be my beneficiary? So if I've got husband and kids, for example, should it just be those immediate people? Can I have my sister in there, my mom, my dad, my brother? How far can I take this beneficiary business?
Okay. Again, generally people will make their spouses or partners their beneficiaries. And if you have children, they will also make their children beneficiaries. And I'm happy you're asking this question, because I want to highlight, something that is a risk to all of us. It's unfortunate, and I'm sure you've seen this, especially in our townships, parents pass on sometimes, and then there's life cover, millions of rands, and children literally waste that money.
Yeah.
So, these are times to have conversations with your loved ones, especially your children, and even the adult people that behave like children, because there are those as well.
Yes.
Yes,
we know them. We won't mention any names.
No names, but we have those as well. And that's why for me, I'm so scared if you have life cover and you don't have a will alongside that. Because one day when you pass on, your children and your loved ones may just misuse this money and it doesn't get used for the intended purpose. So, you want to ensure that while you have this life cover, people who are adults, and, in South African law, if you are 18, you are an adult, you can name them. I mean, you can name even young children as beneficiaries, but you must know that that money is not going to go to them. It's going to go to their guardian, whoever the guardian is.
Okay, so I can have my mother, who is, financially responsible, as the guardian. Let's say, for an example, I'm a single parent, right?
Yes,
so I can have my mother then. So then, should I pass on that money? Then goes to her. Then she can do the paying of the school fees and making sure that they eat and they have clothes on their backs and that type of thing.
But yes, you can. Your mother, if you prefer that your mother becomes the legal guardian of the child, that is fine, which means the money will be paid to her, and then she'll take care of the school fees, university fees, and all of that. But the best way to do it is to create a testamentary trust.
Okay.
This trust is created at the time you draft your will. So it only becomes alive when you pass on. And at that point, the trustees will then make sure that whatever portion of your life cover you have left behind, especially if you still have young children, that it is invested for their benefit and their school fees get paid. Because remember, your mother is older than you. And I've seen this with some of my customers. They pass on and their children are under the guardianship of their parents.
Yes.
And then before you know it, the parents have passed on. So what you do?
Sure. Yes.
And that is why a testamentary trust for me is an absolute necessity, especially when you have young children or even disabled children or those people who are not financially responsible. Then you can say they can receive this money not as a one-off lump sum, rather they can receive a monthly income to, living allowance.
Yes.
They can receive a monthly living allowance, and you stipulate in your will that, every year school fees must be paid, university fees must be paid, and a monthly living allowance must be paid. That way, you ensure that your money lasts for as long as possible. It is also used for the right purpose.
Sure. This is so good. It's so educational. I am learning so much in such a short space of time. When does my coverage begin, Sis Pumelele?
Usually it begins as soon as, you've done your applications and everything is in.
So it doesn't require that.
There's no waiting period with life cover. And I'll tell you why. There are waiting periods for Nolo with funeral policies. But there are no waiting periods with life cover. And I'm going to explain why. Remember, when you take a funeral policy, there are no medical questions asked. So if you will not take a life cover on your life and you add your family members for funeral, no one asks you how are these people that you're adding for funeral, health-wise. You could be covering people that are severely ill and all of that.
Right.
And that is why there is a 6 to 12 months waiting period depending on the company and all of that. Because they want to make sure that if you're covering somebody who is lying ill somewhere and they pass on before 6 months is over, they do not pay for that person.
Interesting. Okay.
So because there are no medical questions asked, there are waiting periods. On the other hand, with your life cover, you are asked certain questions about your health. They will even ask you, do you smoke? Do you have HIV? Are you on any chronic medication? When last did you see a doctor? Have you been to a doctor in the recent past? Are you planning to see a doctor in the near future? All of those questions, because they are trying to establish how healthy you are, so that, if you are unhealthy, they can then maybe charge you more monthly for your life cover, or if it's a serious illness, they might not even give you life cover, or they may give you life cover, but not
limited.
Cover an existing illness. So there are a number of ways that they deal with that. So, but otherwise, generally speaking, it takes a couple of weeks to sometimes a month for life cover to be in place.
Okay, so but essentially, it would be after your first debit has gone out, yeah?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. Okay.
No. That's the beauty, because once you have signed all the papers, and let's say the intention was your debit order date for your life cover was going to be the 1st of May.
Right.
You started with this early April, and you were unlucky, you got COVID-19, and you passed on the 29th of April. Your life cover is already in place.
Wow.
The existence of your life cover is not determined by has the first debit order gone through or not. The intention was, that debit order would have gone through had you lived longer. So you are not penalized just because you passed on. So.
Okay, all right. This is Radio Pulpit 657 AM, Heart to Heart with me, Bonolo Nkosi, here on Radio Pulpit 657 AM, 4 minutes after the hour, 1 o'clock. We're talking life insurance, life cover with financial advisor Phumelelo Ndumo. Feel free to text us on 37871, 37871 at the cost of R1.50 per SMS. You can give us a ring on 012 334 1322, or send us a WhatsApp or Telegram on 082 657 2729. What happens if I can't afford my premiums anymore? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people who are facing that.
That's a very sad thing.
Yeah.
That's a very sad thing, Bonolo, because if you cannot afford your premiums, you've got to speak to a financial advisor.
Okay.
So that you can review. I've got quite a few customers these days. Some of them have taken retrenchment packages, or they just lost their jobs because of what's happening. So, we're having discussions. I'm saying, you know what? Let's review your policy. You may have taken your life cover because you're employed and you had a good source of income. But if you no longer have an income and you still appreciate why your life cover is important, then that's when we review, and we may take out things like disability, critical illness, and all of that. Is not good. It's not the ideal life cover, but it is still there. It's better than nothing. So, because if you just stop paying your premiums, guess what? You die. Nothing pays out.
So it is something that you could possibly negotiate with them in the same way that banks offering holiday payment plans and such. This is something that they could possibly
also.
Yeah.
Yes, but that also affects your payout amount.
Right.
That is why for me is speak to your advisor and look at your options, and do understand that sometimes with these payment holidays, when it comes to insurance policies, it could also affect your life cover payout in the end. And that is why for me, my message to my customers these days is, if you've lost your job, or if your salary has been reduced, or you've taken a pay cut because of what is happening, let us look at your life cover and let us reduce, certain benefits so that you still have it. And because when you do that review and reduction of certain benefits, maybe you are paying 600 rand for argument's sake, and after the review, you may end up paying 350 as an example. So hopefully you can still then afford to pay for it. But, don't just keep quiet and not say anything, because if anything happens to you right now then, all these premiums that you have been paying over the years will have just been money down the drain, literally.
Sure. Yeah, no, this has been very, very good and very, very educational. Thank you so much for chatting to us. And yeah, I'll share your contact details shortly to not put you in a fix.
I get a business card, so I have all these numbers on my business card. But just one last caution.
Yes, please.
When you have children, regardless of their age, putting them or nominating them as beneficiary by completing a beneficiary nomination form, that money might never be used for the purpose that you took it out for. So this is the time to speak to your advisor to get a will in place.
Yeah.
Because you don't want your money to be misused and all of that.
I hear you. We've actually just gotten a question come in. Maybe we can tackle it before we let you go.
Okay.
Yeah, this family member says, I never took a life cover before and I'm now 57 years old. Can I still take one out now?
How old is she or he?
57.
57. Yes. Let me also maybe clarify that you do qualify for life cover up to age 69.
69.
Yeah.
Okay.
But 70 and above, you do not.
And then while we're on the topic of age, it's actually thank you so much for sending this question. It raises another good point. From what age can you start then?
You can start. I often say as soon as you have your first job, for me that's the best time to start.
Okay.
I know there are people, I won't mention any names or companies, but there are people who offer life cover to invest in students, as an example.
Yeah.
But usually it is very limited and it's a very small amount. But if you're taking, and usually parents will be paying for that life cover, but if you're taking one for yourself and you are working, as soon as you start working, it is important. Because one day you're going to buy a car, you're going to buy a home, you're going to have children. In fact, you're asking me a very good question. As I said earlier, the best time to take life cover is when you do not need it.
Yeah.
Remember, when you are young, generally you are healthy. And you find that your life cover premium is cheap. There are people who come to me, they've never had life cover, and they keep hearing me speak about it. And then they ask me for a quote. And when I give it to them, and it's 301 rands, they don't believe it because they just thought it must be expensive. And I say, there you go. Just for 301 rands, now if something happens to you, there will be money at least to assist your family.
Yeah.
So, and when you're young and you're healthy, there are no weight problems and all of that, that's the best time because it's going to be very affordable. To the person that sent the question at 57, you can still get it, but the reality is it's going to be a little bit more expensive because of your age.
Right. That makes sense.
And it's worse if you have lifestyle disease like, diabetes and hypertension and all of those things, and weight problems as well. So that's why the sooner you get it, you take it, the better, then it's out of the way.
Makes sense. All righty. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving us your time. I think I must find a way to get this on podcast so people get a chance to listen to it as well. But yeah, thank you so much for this has been a really, really good conversation. And I think we've all learned a lot and we are better for it. So may the good Lord bless you, keep you and increase you until we chat again real soon.
Thank you so much, Bonado. Thank you. Keep well.
Thank you. Bye-bye. That was financial advisor there, Phumelelo Ndumbo, talking to us about understanding life insurance. And there you have it. As soon as you start working, get on it. The sooner, the better. And and of course, it's covered until the age 69, she says. So yeah, if you are like 41 and you've never given it any thought, by all means, please get in touch with the necessary people. But as for Tutuka SA's details, they are under lockdown, obviously. So their lockdown number at the moment, 061-583-2723. Website Tutuka-SA, that's THUTHUKA-SA.co.za.